Hello, folks, and welcome back to Chris Wyatt Africa here on Nkandla, Africa. It is 8 July in South Africa. Not long after midnight in South Africa. It is still, it's close to 3 a.m. in South Africa. It is still Wednesday evening, the 7th of July, here on the East Coast of the United States. About 3 hours ago was the deadline for former President Jacob Zuma to be arrested by South African Police Service based on the conviction and 15-month prison sentence handed down to him by South Africa's apex court, the Constitutional Court, on the 29th of June. On that date, former President Zuma was given 5 days to surrender and turn himself in, given an opportunity, given his advanced age and consideration for his status as former president, to put his affairs in order. Rather than put his affairs in order, he started chicanery of a bizarre, unprecedented, unparalleled judicial challenge to the Constitutional Court itself. On Friday, this past week, he sought to have the Constitutional Court do a rescission on its judgment against him, its sentencing and conviction, asking the court essentially to revoke their judgment against him on the basis of several items which were comical to say the least. He had until Sunday to turn himself in. A lot of pundits seem to think that simply filing the court case bought him time, but in fact it didn't. Nothing changed. The court agreed to hear his arguments on the 12th of July. Why they decided to give this deference to Jacob Zuma and treat him as if he's more or has better rights than any other of the 59 million plus South Africans is beyond my comprehension and most people's comprehension, but they did it. So people seem to think that that gave him until the 12th of July. It did not. As I've stated unequivocally, since that happened this past Friday, that didn't change the order. He had until Sunday, July 4th, to turn himself in. Not only did he not turn himself in July 4th, he was defiant. He held an unauthorized, illegal gathering of thousands of people who violated social distancing guidelines, many of whom weren't wearing masks. And oh, by the way, under level 4 adjusted lockdown in South Africa, any gathering is currently prohibited, indoors or outdoors, and a gathering is more than 2 people. Thousands of people rocked up in Nkandla as he got up on the stage after making their fraudulent application to the court that he's frail, he's old, he requires special medical treatment, and putting him in incarceration would put him at risk of contracting the virus. It would be a death sentence for the 79-year-old. Yet apparently he can march with his followers on Friday without a mask, no social distancing. On Saturday he could do that. On Sunday, he can hold a mass rally in which he dances and sings and laughs and is jovial with his supporters. And then, like a grand vizier or a pasha or the emir or some sort of days of old European emperor, he holds court in ornate wood-carved chairs as he held a press conference Sunday evening explaining the legal ramifications and was dismissive. When journalists on occasion asked him legitimate questions, he simply did not answer the question and went off on some tangent about how the African National Congress democratic government is apartheid-like. It's the country sliding back into apartheid. Every time this corrupt, convicted criminal covers up his own shame, he does so by hearkening back to apartheid. No, just like Winnie Mandela, not only were you convicted under apartheid, but you've been convicted under majority government. Why? Because you're corrupt. In this case, your arrogance is what got you in trouble. Let's go back to what happened here. After years of punting and avoiding appearing in trial, he finally went to the Zondo Commission on State Corruption, on State Capture, back in November. And when he didn't like the questions, he just got up and walked out, in a clear sign of disrespect for the court and the authorities. From the very judge, Raymond Zondo, whom Jacob Zuma himself appointed when he was president. He walks away from the scene in November. He's ordered to appear before the commission again in February. On the 24th of February, he fails to show. Incensed, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo approaches the Constitutional Court and demands that they take action and put an arrest warrant out for him. Now, bear in mind that Jacob Zuma has had every opportunity from February 24th to June 29th to approach the court, explain what happened, if in fact he was unable to attend, and seek forgiveness or ask for their mercy, or make his case. But he did nothing. He waited with his arrogance until after the court convicted him on the 29th of June and sentenced him to 15 months unsuspended. Under South African normal practice, he would have to serve at least half that time, 7.5 months in prison for the former president, who swore that he's not afraid of prison. He would go to prison right now. Well, he has gone to prison. Now, the media, shame on the media, they've been falsely reporting that Zuma turned himself in. But before I get to that, let me ask you this question. Where is Cyril Ramaphosa? I thought that he was the president of South Africa. Given the chaos and the anger that's boiling amongst some South Africans, you would think that the president would have had something to say to the nation. He's been strangely silent and missing in action since before he departed for Zambia late last week to attend former Zambian President Kenneth Kwanda's funeral after passing away at the age of 97, one of the last of Africa's liberation era icons. Where is Cyril Ramaphosa? Absolutely dead silent. Now, apparently, Jacob Zuma has exhausted his 9 lives. You know, cats have 9 lives. Jacob Zuma has exhausted his. All efforts to stay out of prison failed. And finally, just minutes before midnight, a convoy left Nkandla, the desperately poor village in KwaZulu-Natal where his palatial mansion rests, and apparently drove him to the Estcourt Correctional Facility 175 kilometers away from Nkandla. The BBC, the Associated Press, News 24, and all major news organizations I can find who've reported on the story in the past 3 hours all seem to be carrying the water for Jacob Zuma, making the incorrect claim that he turned himself in. That's not true. Had he adhered to the court order, he would have reported to police or correctional authorities on the 4th of July, not midnight on the 7th, becoming the 8th. That's 4 days too late. That's not complying with the order. All that did was save the African National Congress the embarrassment of being forced to issue a injunction or a warrant for the arrest of the police minister and the commissioner, Cele and his police commissioner, who, if they had not had him arrested by their authorities by midnight on the 7th, turning to the 8th, they would have been subject to contempt of court for violating the Constitutional Court's order to apprehend Jacob Zuma should he fail to turn himself in by the 4th. So far from turning himself in and complying with the court order, he did not comply with the court order. That's the media fraudulently carrying the water and setting the stage for Jacob Zuma to play the hero who adhered to the rule of law. He broke the rule of law, he ignored the rule of law, and got himself in trouble by failing to make a court appearance. He acts as if he has no rights, if he's being pursued. He could have simply invoked his rights against self-incrimination and said, on advice of counsel, I can't answer that question. But no, he just didn't show up because he's arrogant. And as in the words of many people, he's recalcitrant. Now, the hundreds of arrogant, defiant, lockdown-violating Zuma supporters who rocked up on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday, on Monday, on Tuesday, were largely absent tonight, missing in action when the police came for Jacob Zuma. Yes, there were a few dozens of people out there toy-toying and making noise, violating lockdown regulations, assembling, in other words, gatherings, no social distancing, no mask for most of these people, violating all the rules with no consequences. But there weren't thousands. His drunk-ass son, Edward Zuma, who said, you'll have to kill me to take him, was standing like an idiot, waving a stick, 3 sheets to the wind, talking nonsense. His arrogant daughter, where was she at? The one from the press conference the other night. Back on the 29th of June, the Constitutional Court, the apex court for South Africa, found him guilty of contempt and sentenced him to 15 months unsuspended. So he sought these interdictions to the court and they failed. So where are we next? What's next? What comes next in the Jacob Zuma saga? We'll continue the Zuma Watch to see what unfolds next. But for now, according to media reports and according to the South African Police Service, he is in custody at the Estcourt Correctional Facility. Jacob Zuma, the former president of South Africa, in prison. What comes next? Well, don't get too excited. Don't get too excited. First off, the Constitutional Court still has a hearing, as does the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Now, it is beyond comprehension to consider that the Pietermaritzburg High Court, which deferred a decision based on yesterday's court appearance, the 6th, till Friday, the 9th, and they'll render a judgment about whether they'll intervene to suspend or overturn the High Court's judgment. How does a lower court overturn a higher court's judgment? The Constitutional Court is the apex, the peak court in South Africa, and it is not the role of a lower court, the High Court, in a province to overturn a decision. So there is the remote possibility that they will intervene or say something. And then just 3 days later, on the 12th of July, Zuma will have his day in court in front of the Constitutional Court, and he'll have his opportunity to ask for the rescission there. Now, odds are pretty good that now that he's in custody, if he appears before the court, either through Zoom or remotely, or he's somehow physically at the court, that the court will simply hear his case and say, you have no basis for asking for this from the court. We therefore find you in contempt of court yet again, and let's tack another 6 months on your sentence. Maybe, maybe not. But the point is, don't get too excited about the incarceration of Jacob Zuma. Don't run around like the fake media are doing right now going, oh, this is a sign that South Africa's institutions are strong, that South Africa is a land of the rule of law. It's not. It's kabuki theater. Unless Jacob Zuma spends the next 7.5 months in prison, anything less is not just for his conduct and his behavior. Now, we haven't even gotten around to the court cases against him for corruption in the arms scandal from 1999, which he's eluded justice for over 2 decades. Whatever the case is, today, July 7th, 2021, Zuma Watch, Jacob Zuma is now in correctional care. He is incarcerated. He is in jail once again, where based on the judgment and penalty of the Constitutional Court, he belongs. All the blather from his supporters who would die for him and making all kinds of nonsense came to absolutely nothing. A day-long dramatic standoff with law enforcement officials showing up, vehicles being there, reports of helicopters on strip alert, all sorts of nonsense going on, an ambulance trying to get into Nkandla but turned away. What was that all about? People with all kinds of rumors. There's a special forces team inside there. Who knows? Who cares? Jacob Zuma is currently incarcerated where he belongs, according to the Constitutional Court. As I said, don't get too excited. We'll see what happens. Zuma Watch, update. Is this day 6 now? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Day 5. Day 5, Zuma Watch. Stay right here on Chris Wyatt Africa for Zuma Watch Day 6 coming up. We'll give you an update on the 8th of July as to what's happening in Zuma. Hey, if you're not a subscriber to Chris Wyatt Africa, why not become one? I'm not a South African. I don't have a dog in the fight. Just objective, honest, fair, balanced reporting in what's going on in South Africa and across Africa as a whole. Thanks a lot, folks. Appreciate your time, your patronage, and your support. Take care. Jacob Zuma, 9 lives, gone for the moment. But Jay-Z is the clever one. Will he escape the noose? We shall see.